All right, so 1, 2, 3, and we're back.
Sweet baby feet. Let the wild turkey in.
God, that reminds me a lot when you tried to deep throat that fucking hog turd when we was, on the Skunk Camp Experiments 1. You see RPG carry a fucking hog turd through the woods. He comes back and he's proud of it. It's like, I found this.
Look what I found, guys.
It might be fossilized deer dick. That thing was like fucking huge, bro. Like, he's taking these deers out there fucking packing, dog.
No, you guys had like gator's teeth and all this cool stuff, and I literally was like, what is it?
It's a white piece of...
It's a piece of shit.
And I was like, oh yeah.
shit.
I was like, the pig was eating it. It was kind of crazy.
Nothing says you're not from Florida like that.
Yeah, right?
Oh, dude, when that pig, because there was nothing, and you guys freaked me out. You were in my head, which is we got to do that every time. So I'm just expecting the worst, like the largest snake, a bunch of pigs. Like, what the fuck you want, bro? Like and it was nothing. So then right when you get cocky, all of a sudden there was one there, and when they like move real fast, and you just. And then I went over to see what it was eating after I calmed down, and I was like, what is this? So I was just pumped. I was like, I found something. And I found shit. Literally found shit.
So that whole experience, that whole thing was all new to you for the most part, right?
Oh, yeah. Stomping through the marsh. I mean, outside of on the show, a tad of it. No, we went out from it.
Yeah, well, the hog hunt. Okay, That is my favorite part of the film. It's one of my favorite parts. But the hog hunt, you get to see what it's like to be down here. It's like to be old school down here and do some of that shit. So how was that as coming from California? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And then you're now down here and we're catching hogs with our bare hands.
Oh, never mind California. I grew up in the country, or thought I did. Right? Like this is. How do I explain it? Like, I have seen so many different athletic events and participated in so many things, but I have never been a part of something so fucking primal and, like, thrilling. Like, my heart was hammering in my chest, like, and I wasn't even an active I was just there to observe, right? And to see this little guy, like, dude, Roger's son is like, I mean, he's the dude you go, that guy catches pigs, like, I see that.
Right.
But when the action hit,
You did say little guy right now, right?
No. His buddy who was with him was, and I don't even call him a little guy, but compared to him.
Hunter, Jolly Green Giant.
Jolly Green Giant. And then, but when the action hit and the bushes are shaking, the dogs are, and the pig's squealing, the little guy, he hit those bushes like a linebacker in the Super Bowl, like going for and he was in the chaos, and I'm just watching him and I'm thinking, oh my God, he's going to die. They're all going to die. And in that chaos, you have these women with beautiful butts, that's all I remember, coming in going, stop to the dogs, but gently. So you have hyper-violence, and these girls going, just stop, back off. And meanwhile, this little guy's in there, he's fucking resident. And then all of a sudden, the pig is like tied up, and Hunter's handing him pieces. And you guys were all just so cool with it. And I was like, this is literally the most manly, country, cool-ass fucking thing. Why don't we all have to do this once? Like, it was one of the coolest things, hands down, I've ever participated in. And I wasn't even, like I said, a direct participant. I don't know, man. Everyone should see it.
Yeah,
and
it was, that stuff's wild, dude. Like, catching the hogs. Because like in Texas, other places, they'll spear them. You know what I mean? They have these long spears, and then the hog comes and stab the hog, basically, and they try to wrestle it to the ground like that and stuff.
Oh, we didn't know. This was more hardcore.
Yeah, this is way worse than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to put your hands on the hog, and that's, like, I've been trying to get my son to come down and do it.
He's a big boy. He could do it.
Oh, yeah, he could do it for sure. But that's like, I just want him to experience it.
Yeah, hey, it's a great experience.
Yeah, it really is. It's
great
fun, dude.
experience. It was really fun.
No, I just cannot explain the rush. And then so we catch the first one, and we didn't even catch, it wasn't even like a normal 150 pounder. What was it, like 50 pounds maybe or something?
It was a small one.
So a small one. And then so we catch that, and you think the rush is over. And now they're talking, they're like, oh, because the dogs can't land this next one. And they're like, oh, by the way, there's this pig out there, 150, 200 pounds, maybe bigger, but it has no ears. And so the dogs, for people that don't know, you got the one dog that goes out, finds it, then you got this badass dog that latches to the ear, holds it down so that the person, the handler, can come up and put it down. But if there's no ear, it has to go for the jaw. And if it goes for the jaw, it's got the big teeth. And this thing is just bigger than the dogs. And dude, that was freaking me out. And so now you're in the darkness, and there's an all-black bullet running around the woods, angry because you're pissing it off. If that thing came out, yeah. Anyway, yeah.
I got bit one time. And so me and Hunter were working this ranch, and the dogs bayed the one in this thicket that was by this like creek. And this creek was like covered in lily pads, dark water, it's all marshy around there. And the catch dog comes in, but because it was so thick in there, he couldn't get a good hold on it, and we couldn't get to him.
Oh.
And that's the problem, because then you have to start crawling through that shit to get in there, because you got to help the dog.
Right.
He's a shelf life on him as soon as he latches on. But Hog gets out, runs across the creek. The dog right on his ass, and then latches on the other side of the creek. Well, the dog won't let go, and the hog is now dipped his head down into the water where the hog can breathe, but the dog is under, and the dog won't turn loose. We have to swim this creek, bro. Ooh. We go over there, and Hunter grabs the hog with by the tail and hands me the dog. And dude, they're all thrashing around and shit, and then we get it back over to the other side of the creek. And as we're pulling it up, it slips out of Hunter's hands, and the thing grabs me by the leg. And luckily, I had my snake boots on, right? And so I felt it, but he didn't cut me. And that thing bit and shook, and then I had to grab it and flip it, and I'm on a muddy-ass bank. It's like an incline, right?
So now you're mud wrestling with this big ass.
People are throwing dollar bills now. Get them, Stace.
No, I drug that fucking hog through the back to the truck. I didn't pick that one up. I drug him. I was like, fuck you. That was wild, dude. But I still to this day think Hunter let it go on purpose.
Really?
Just to like
Test you?
Yeah.
That's kind of badass in a way, though. I kind of wish you would do that to me, but also don't.
It's like he got hazed that day.
Yeah, that's
He's
what
like, you a real man?
Yeah, because I was about to shit a fucking brick going into that creek. Alligators ain't no joke down here, bro.
Yeah.
Well, not on RPG's land.
Nope. This is Eden.
No alligators here.
No alligators here.
Only spot.
Fresh water.
They skip.
So yeah, what y'all want to talk about, man? Let's talk about some cryptids, some paranormal. This is the OutKast paranormal, whatever we're calling it, show.
Yeah. Well, this one's kind of just a quick one, but it just always fascinated me about Jacques Cousteau. And, exploring the world, going around, and there's the story that's presented to everyone of, this is a beautiful underwater video of the Indian Ocean. But what was he really up to? And from my deep dives, what I believe is like the Smithsonian goes around and looks for things and then decides to cover up or whatnot. They have people that they send out to do the real exploring. Because there are stories, which you may have heard of with Jacques Cousteau. He was off the Horn of Africa in Djibouti.
He was in Djibouti.
He's all up in Djibouti.
He got in that Djibouti. Because
When was the last time you got some of that Djibouti?
we got to do a Jacques Cousteau groupie movie, just like the people that followed him. But no, he went there because there were reports that the people were seeing this massive creature, this Nessie-like creature in the water down there, this devil, this great beast. So, of course, he goes to check it out. And if you get the topical story, he went, and when they actually went down, which they did not go down as deep, they only went down about 600 feet, it was
That's what she said.
it was like most oceans, it's kind of empty. There's not much going on down there. But if you then look at local papers and local reports, they will talk about how they went and he was scared out of there by something. Now, we know that the manta ray, the giant Atlantic manta ray, is called the devilfish, is massive. These things can get up to like 4,000 pounds. I mean, like, if you saw that, if you were up on the hill and you looked down, you saw this giant thing with horns gliding into the Red Sea right there. Imagine what you would think, right? You would think, oh, there's some giant beast in there, although this beast is completely harmless. But apparently Jacques Cousteau took a camel carcass, put it into a cage to test it, and dropped it to the very bottom. And now here's where my theories start to come in a little bit. If you look at where this is positioned, it's right at the entrance to the Red Sea. So it's at like a crucial entry point. Now, what's at the bottom? We have all these ancient stories of like Cerberus guarding the gates and all these mythical creatures. Basically, this wide arrangement of cryptids that seem to be standing at these points of interest, points that you should not go past, like Guardians of the Gate, like the devil, don't go there. And so what if there are these certain places in the world where there is something down there, whether it's a buried city, whether it's an alien spacecraft, whatever, but it is guarded by something. And when he put that down, he put it in the right spot, because we all know the ocean is ridiculously vast. But in the right spots, I think great monsters lurk, because he did the same thing in Lake Tahoe. Okay. And you get a regular story out of it. They'll say he was never there. He wrote a book, and since he wrote the book, that's the truth. And maybe it is. But in Lake Tahoe, apparently he was also run out of there. So I think this motherfucker was like one of the original aquatic cryptid hunters, like the king, and he went everywhere to these spots, special spots in Lake Tahoe, and he found the beasts, and he recorded it. For what purpose, why, I have no idea. I hope someone that's listening can like deep dive farther than I deep dive, no pun intended. But I find it fascinating that he was hunting all these giant cryptids, and he was finding them in these different places. If those... And if you guys know any more about that, I love that shit. Because the ocean is where it's at. Why are we not exploring the bottom of the ocean? Why do we care about Kanye West or any of this other crazy shit? Like, there's more ocean than anything. The answers are there. Or some cool shit's in there. And we don't care.
It's the artist formerly known as...
Well, I want to say
Dolphins
that
living.
Prince Kanye.
we don't go down there because we can't physically get down there. The pressure is too great for like to go down as far
Yeah,
as
it's
it
kind of
can
like
really go.
space, right? But we go there all the time.
There's no pressure in space.
Oh, I understand, but like the challenges.
It's the atmosphere.
You have
we
to hold
bring
your breath
Right.
just the same going
But
up and
okay,
down.
but we have ingenuity, you know what I mean? And if we actually pooled resources enough, anything's possible. If James Cameron can do it, like...
Well, I'm saying that that's what they say.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's what they say. That's what the story is that, oh, the pressure's too great, we can't go further. Like, we still, like, Mariana's Trench, for example. We've only really seen, like, the entrance to it.
Yeah.
We don't know what's down in there, and that's supposedly where the Megalodon lives, right?
Yeah.
But it just so happens that there's, like, volcanic vents that are also around there, too. So not only are you dealing with the heat, you're dealing with, you know, pressure on top of that, and that's why they say they can't go down there. But that seems like the perfect place for something to live.
Well, you think if like everything up here was going to shit, our air and all that stuff, why don't we move under the sea?
Yeah.
Like, you get all the energy you want, you know, you just set up outside the jet stream or something, you know, maybe ride that shit and make you some energy off of that.
Thermal vents.
Thermal vents.
Yeah. Well, we go underground. All these ancient civilizations back in the day, we find all these dwellings. Either they are burnt cities, you know, they laser blast or whatever, or they just legitimately went underground because up here it gets fucking crazy with weather. Why wouldn't at some point they go, let's go in the ocean? Why are we just going in the dirt? Like, let's get to the bottom of the ocean. We've got geothermal power down there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It makes sense. It makes more sense to me that he went down there and he found something like that.
Well,
You know?
I just pictured Jar Jar Binks down there.
yeah.
You know, I don't
He's a good judge.
I don't know.
They all get down there,
crab,
realize that
anglerfish
they're in
chasing
the
them.
water and can't breathe and die.
Yeah,
That's
right.
usually the problem.
Well, what you alluded to something last time, and you just kind of said it to me. Well, it struck in my head. So you were talking about everybody went underground, which made me think of the mud flood. Have you heard of this?
Yeah,
You have. So like the mud flood is like where the earth just stops, right? And then the poles reverse, and so when the earth just actually stops spinning, waves come over, you know, like a 2-mile wave comes over and washes everything, creates this huge like mud flood that covers all the ground, right? And which leads me to what you kind of said last episode. You touched on, you thought dinosaurs may be fake. Okay, so how did I get there with the mud flood? If this mud flood thing happened, and they say it happens like every 6,000-7,000 years or something like that, and we're past due. And so you got all this layer of soil over the top. How in the hell are they still finding dinosaurs?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't they be like hundreds of feet below, you know, if there was all this stuff that just came over the top, all this other like soil or was like shifted around.
So you're saying it would be further underneath the sediment because all these other mud layers
all these
came
other
and
mud
piled
floods, because we're talking if this happens every 7,000 years, the dinosaurs, what, 65 million or billion? Million.
And billions.
Either way, years ago. So you've had, you know,
I want to say that I just seen something that like one of the oldest things in the fossil record was actually a fossilized mushroom that was somewhere close to the billions of years of being fossilized.
Can you imagine the high off of that mushroom?
No, but
yes, Bigfoot. Yes.
That was found in a cave, though.
okay, so does that like bring into question like how they're finding dinosaur bones? Like, do you believe dinosaurs even existed at this point?
Yes.
Really?
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%.
Giants. Going Giants.
Well, so the first dinosaur wasn't found, but like 100-something years ago.
Yeah, but we didn't have the same level of archaeological equipment
You don't have to have the equipment to dig in the fucking ground.
to get that deep. Excavating equipment and stuff like that sure did.
Oh, so they're all being found at hundreds of feet below the surface, and none of them are found.
Depending on where they're at. Like if we're gonna talk about the Salt Lake or
Utah, the Utah Raptors.
Yeah,
and
like they're
that's like surface stuff.
Yeah, they're relatively like within like 100 feet, maybe even say 50, if that.
50 feet down.
But you know, the thing is that at those times there was, let's just say, we're gonna go off of the globe theory, right? That there was Pangea, everything was all together.
Okay.
So certain levels were of the land continents that we know now. Some of those were actually underwater. Some of them were, you know, it was different. Right. So, like, let's just say that 25 million years ago, T-Rexes lived here, and that was at that part, right, was actually above water and swamps and whatever, right?
Right.
20 million years, so 5 million years later, after that had happened, that has already gone down to a certain... the Earth itself rearranged.
Right.
So maybe there's actually more under the ocean that we don't even know about.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. And
Okay, but yeah, well, people been digging forever, right? And nobody was to find these dinosaur bones before then?
Well, maybe they did. Maybe they just
that's
didn't
why
know
I
what they
think
were.
it's a narrative that they want. And think about it. Every
Like
kid
George Washington
loves
didn't even know
dinosaurs.
they fucking existed.
Every kid loves dinosaurs. Why?
That wasn't that long ago, like in the grand scheme of things.
So RBG, what are you saying, that they want us to idolize reptilians?
No, they want us to love this timeline they've built that has the dates and perfect and all the things, and here's how it's going. And I just think
Because
that
they
it's
figured
all
it out.
shit.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I don't think
I don't
they know
know what
how
it is.
fucking old everything is.
But here's what I want exactly, and how many times it's repeated itself, and are we actually stuck here, really, like ants, and we just keep rebuilding? But here's what I want to go with the mud flood. Let's talk about, so how does one deliver that much mud? Because I think it's in the delivery of that would explain how the layers may not stay that tall. Because, okay, so how does it happen?
Multiple Uber drivers.
Well, no. Like, how do you... okay, if it's a 2-mile wall of mud...
No, well, okay, so the Earth's spinning, right? The Earth's spinning. What is the number they say? How fast?
Oh, it's like
Some...
17,000 miles. I'll look it up. But
Okay,
it's a
so
lot.
the Earth is spinning so fast. And then the poles, the polarity switches.
Okay.
And now east and west are your poles. And north and south are not your poles anymore. East and west are. Anyways, the planet fucking stops, right?
But wouldn't it all just stop then? Why are things...
But that's another thing. Like, okay, so if your gravity's a big deal, why wouldn't it just be cool with it? But I guess it's like in a car. If you slam on the brakes, your drink would fly forward.
So the Earth
right?
is like a
So
big star.
yeah,
so surface.
it
So
stops.
it's all surface.
Surface stops. Water comes over, washes all over the country, and now because the Earth is stopped,
Yeah.
right? The sun is in one fucking spot where it shouldn't be, and shit freezes. Like everything that didn't get destroyed by these tidal waves freezes. That's why they found mammoths they're still eating, right? But they were just like flash frozen.
So it's a flash. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So everything on the planet fucking freezes. And then, and this is all within like 8 hours,
Yeah.
the poles shift back and the fucker starts spinning again. This is a theory a lot of people are jumping on. And so if you're washing all that water over it, you're moving all that fucking, so maybe you're scraping it off. But at some point, as it's picking up, as the shit's coming in, it's pretty much just mud from there out, and so it just lands right over everything, covering everything.
So it's basically like a tidal wave that as it builds momentum,
2 miles
it collects
tall.
land, yeah, and it's moving land. So at the front end of it should be just a washed out basin once the water recedes, but over here, so basically you should see that the mud's getting higher the farther it
Right.
goes.
So the problem of we knew these Triceratops lived over here. How the fuck do you know that? Because you found their bones over there. Like their bones could have been drugged.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but you got to think about how these bones are found. These skeletons are intact. Like it fell over and
Yeah.
died, not
Right.
washed up.
For
You
a
know what I'm
bunch of
saying?
Right.
washed
Right. So
up
does
everything.
any of that, like, if this other theory happens, does any of that kind of like not make sense to you?
Well, yeah,
They're
because
finding them intact.
No, that still makes
'Cause if
sense to me.
And who's finding them? Only archaeologists or like normal people?
Smithsonian $1 billion budget.
Well-
Explain to me why.
Well, interesting thing that to kind of jump on all of this, right? The mounds here in America that nobody ever wants to talk about.
Yeah.
So I've been reading this book in relation to another case, and they start kind of building up this picture, right? About how, and this book was written in, I want to say the 80s, and was going off of like basically stuff from like the late 1800s to the early 1900s, that there was like a big coup within the like archaeologist community. They were going into these mounds and they were looking at all these structures that were built, etc., and they were finding these strange things inside of these mounds, bones being one of them, forged crucifix, strange like writings on tablets, and like stuff that just could not have been made by the Native Americans at the time, because they didn't have forging materials and things like
Didn't
that.
fit the narrative. Didn't fit the narrative.
So, but they still blamed it on the Native Americans anyway, and said that they were somehow still receiving trade, like through like like merchants and stuff like that.
Right.
Which,
Bible salesman.
yeah, so like they kind of did this thing that were like, so let's just say that you were an archaeologist back then, and you were,
Was I a good archaeologist?
fairly,
Fairly good. Handsome.
and so you found something like this, right?
Yeah.
And then you wrote your whole dissertation on it. You wrote like your paper, and you had the findings. You figured it out that this piece of evidence doesn't make sense, and you would bring it back to the archaeology community, whatever, and they would shun you.
Nerds.
They would shun you and basically not allow you to continue archaeology until you retracted it in some sort of way.
Well,
And this is a pattern over history that, like, there has been suppression from that community.
Sure.
Why? The only reason I believe
Control
in
the
dinosaurs
narrative.
is because I'm a big fan. All right, I love Jurassic Park. It is just what it is. What it is.
You want
I
it to
have
be
hope.
real.
I want it to be real. I heard recently that there was a video that was actually taken here in Florida of a velociraptor running through a lady's yard.
Did you see that? Anybody else see that?
I've
Like
seen it.
security footage.
It is.
Yeah, I don't think it's a velociraptor.
I don't think it is
But
either, but I was
it's
so
an emu.
hopeful. And my daughter, she was like, "Oh, Daddy, they're real."
Aw.
You know how bad that would fucking suck, though?
Ooh, we're all
Right.
dead. All day.
I think the
But-
one thing we don't want running around is a couple velociraptors.
Bigfoot is afraid, and he ain't afraid of nobody.
Like I'll eat myself, you know, some of them
But-
flying pterodactyls,
but
but
that's
I'm
not
sure
the-
not eating any velociraptors. Those guys.
But the
little
pterodactyls is a
something.
good point because there's been a lot of pterodactyl sightings allegedly out in like the desert areas, New Mexico, Arizona, places like that. There's also been velociraptor sightings. There's people who are genuinely putting real reports to this day about real.
Oh well,
velociraptors.
shit. When we was I was
Because
on
you don't want
some-
to put out a real report about a fake velociraptor. They have to be real velociraptors as well. So all these cases are actual real cases with real velociraptors.
Well, I was on a reservation, and I think it may have been up there with Barry. But one of them had told me about their grandparents had actually seen like Brontosaurus type dinosaurs on the fucking like Great Plains there. They had talked about them, so maybe dinosaurs lived. It wasn't that long ago. Maybe
That
the
would be
Earth's
my
only
guess.
5,000 years old, like the
I think
Bible
the time,
says.
yeah, the millions, the billions, I think that's all bullshit. Because that radioactive dating, that's all sketchy bullshit anyway.
Well, my problem with it is I can't do it at home.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I have to trust in this guy, in this scientist.
Mm.
And the last fucking time we trusted some scientists, we found these tracks. We got a hair sample above one of the tracks, sent it to 2 different labs.
Gone.
Both of them. One of them told me it was a cat. One of them told me it was a bear. It was cinnamon color. We don't have cinnamon fucking black bear. And we don't have no cat that's that color. So it's like, why are y'all not telling me the same fucking thing? Either one of y'all didn't do the test, and you're just telling me you did, but the other guy did. I don't know. They both blame the other one for being a drunk.
Or they found, or they did test it and realized that it was something that they couldn't disclose.
Now, the Smithsonian has $1 billion budget. NASA has the largest movie studio in the world. Like, these are just simple facts that if you look at them, you should just go, huh. And if that's the case, then so what are they doing with that money? Where's that money going?
Why do you have 400 graphic artists working for you?
Like, why? Like, so that's why, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, for sure. With the Smithsonian, like, they've been known covering up shit. Just besides the giant skeletons that were found, there's also the pyramids of the Grand Canyon. You know, which that's a whole fucking deep dive. Like some archaeologist discovered in this cave, I guess he was following some guy's journal or some shit, and he discovered this cave that had like hieroglyphs on it, and then when he got into it, it opened up into a big tunnel system, and there was like a 40-foot tall Buddha right there, and then turns out there were like pyramids
Oh, wow.
under the fucking ground, right? And so he writes about it in like 1909 or something. Forgive me if I'm wrong on the dates, but Smithsonian comes out, he goes out, he calls all those people like, yo, I just fucking found the shit, bro.
Yep.
And they come out there and they like immediately just shoot it all down. They're like, nope, you ain't find shit. Everything that he turned into him just disappears. So fast forward to like the 90s, this like little researcher, he decides he's gonna go out there and find this spot this guy was talking about, the pyramids in the Grand Canyon, and he fucking finds them, right? He comes out and tells somebody. Next thing you know, he's like, I can't remember if he was arrested or he went missing, but they like blocked off. After that, they blocked off the cave entrances, saying that there was bats in there that were protected and you couldn't go in them caves because they didn't want you disturbing the bats.
And there was a plane that crashed, and actually hit the side and pulled down the curtain that they have over one of the grand... Listen, it isn't just pyramids and Buddhas. It's all the ancient races met there in the Grand Canyon. That place looked a lot different. And here's the crazy shit. So when I was producing for a show about exploring the world and looking for cool shit, I met a dude who will hike us in. And he's like,
What?
do you want to go see the obelisks? Do you want to go see these things that are so far in that they're not going to cover up because no one's ever going to go there? Why is there a random shack across from the thing the plane crashed on the Native American reservation where they have a guard outposted there at all times, just watching across from the Grand Canyon randomly. These are things that are real. And it's like, so what's really going on there? And then if you deep dive, not to go crazy on this, but if you were to get into the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic, you can come from Europe, Africa, and anything, and it takes time, but you can, if you get out into it, you can float all the way. And back in the day, things have changed slightly. It would take you in and drop you off perfectly right into the Grand Canyon, where all these different races would pilgrimage to, share knowledge, kind of have a mecca, come back out, hit the Amazon, which was just giant gardens, collect food, and go back across the sea. There is a whole other lifetime of people working kind of in harmony, and then something happens. Maybe it's what, were you saying it, where that experiment where once everything hits like utopia?
Oh, yeah, experiment. I don't know, what was it? What's it called?
Oh, Universe 25.
Universe 25.
Maybe when you hit utopia, something switches in us and we go violent and we destroy it all. You know? But anyway, explain that thing though. Like
What, Universe 25?
Yeah.
Basically, there was a psychology study that was done. I'm not gonna name the guy because of
smoke dope. I don't remember.
Right, I'd give you his name, but I flat out forgot.
Well,
but I got high.
All right. Anyway,
The only one that doesn't smoke. Okay, go.
long story short, what he did is that for like a really long period of like years, he studied these mice, and basically what he created was like a ecological experiment. And he created like an area for all these rats to kind of be together, but there was a separate part of this area where they could kind of live without having to work. Like they don't have to hunt for food. Like food is provided for them, shelter is provided for them, and it gave them a good opportunity to breed and keep reproducing. But what they found was after periods of times and several generations of mice, they started to, well, there was two things. The females started becoming overly aggressive and start like having more male traits. And then the male mice started being like more submissive and having like almost like depression type symptoms where they didn't feel like they could be like, were being what they were supposed to be doing, right?
Right.
And it was because they got into this place that they were so, lack of a better term, lazy. They didn't know, they were no longer fulfilling their biological drive, right? Mm-hmm. So over time, more generations, the population, like the reproduction rates started going down because these male mice could no longer properly get with the female mice because they couldn't interact properly.
Wow. I just see a bunch of female mice scissoring.
Erectile dysfunction.
Well,
Erectile dysfunction from the mice.
Well, that's kind of one of the things that ended up happening.
Right.
Literally mice scissoring.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that in particular.
Would you
but
keep
I do. The study did show
I got
that
a pair of scissoring mice.
homosexuality started to increase. And also cannibalism started to increase.
Wait, what? There's a jump there.
Yes. But
You start eating ass and then you take a real bite.
Right.
You
So if you'll eat a dick, you'll eat a whole body.
Another interesting part too is that by the end of the experiment,
Yeah.
from the measurements of the original mouse, like the first breeds that they were using,
Yeah.
Adam and Eve.
by the end, they were smaller
Interesting.
as well. So like over time, we became like we use, hey, listen, we're kind of being taken care of. Life's easy. And suddenly things start to change and just based off of our environment becoming too easy for us.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it proved is that like at the end of the day, I think it even stands in our culture and our society now that we need to be challenged in some sort of way. And we need to, kind of like you guys started this off talking about how it was such a thrill to be out there doing man stuff, hog hunting, right?
Toxic masculinity is great.
It's not toxic. It's
Well, it depends on who you talk to.
It's pretty toxic.
But hey, all I heard from you was there's reason if that experiment's true, we all started from giants and we've been getting smaller because life's been getting easier. And pretty soon we're going to die because it seems to be mirroring the real world pretty spooky and not to touch it too much, but I'm going to touch it. Ooh,
Yeah,
We're going to die scissoring.
Right.
No, and it's going to be the boys scissoring and the girls
The
like...
takeaway is there's going to be a lot of scissoring at the end of the day. Also, like you said, you have a connect that could take us into these places already, and
Oh, yeah, sorry to go off that.
Yeah,
but
he
literally-
just glossed over that.
right, we're not going to notice that you have a connect, and we're not already doing that.
I got a
Why
dude
are
that
we
knows
out
an
here?
alien.
Yeah, right.
But it is a challenge. Like this is a like a dusk till dawn hike, and you might even need a little hike. Like you got to get in because
Ride a mule.
yeah. I mean, it's a young man's sport, so to speak. But no, I'm telling you, unless that dude was full of shit, he told me he's like, dude, I'll take you in, but TV's never gonna put this on. You do know who you're really working for, and you can get into Operation Mockingbird and all these different operations, but basically like it's controlled.
Operation Bigfoot.
Well, it's here. Okay, here's the deal. We're not going to get anywhere by sending our amazing samples that you find by busting your ass in the field
No.
to somebody monitoring your ass. We need somebody in a fucking place to do that for us.
Right.
We don't have the team members yet, and that's really what's happening. Hopefully, this shit generates enough interest where somebody like that goes, "Hey, I got a lab, Stacy.
Right.
I think you're full of shit, but I got a lab, so bring me something."
Right.
And once we have that, then we got more to stand on. Because, yeah, we can't... all I'm saying is I just don't trust the motherfucker. And I'm not saying maybe the Smithsonian's is actually great. I don't know. But my gut, which I rely on way more now, tells me that is some sketchy-ass shit. And all the stuff that would make life just amazing and fun and is covered, Fuck it. Drink your Monster Energy drink, jerk off and go to bed. And, that's your life.
What the fuck is he talking about?
Right. So we're not going to
drink
the
my
Grand
Monster Energy
Canyon? So we're not going to the Grand Canyon?
No, hey, that would be amazing.
No, if you want to.
You could line it up.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
that's, once again, just cash money, but that's
Yeah.
that's a real thing. We can go. I mean, you want to look for treasure too? We can go look for treasure. Those two crackheads, man. But I found a cave in Kentucky.
What? All right, listen. Things have gotten a little weird.
Well, we'll save that for another time. But I'm just saying that there are a lot of really cool
Those
places.
two
in the world.
crackheads out of nowhere. Well, first off, who are the two crackheads?
Yeah, I want to know. Shit.
No, I shouldn't have said that. I'm just angry because I was so nice and I did everything and I didn't want anything but to be there when the discovery was made. And I showed up. I was there. I was prepared to dig, and they stood me up. And guys, I'm telling you.
Go figure.
No. If you
The discovery of heroin by RPG.
dude, when you're up several hundred feet on a ledge with sandstone and you're coming across and a capstone is falling out and you look in and there is a backfilled cave up there and it's not the cave from a cave in or anything, it's dirt from hundreds of feet below that had to somehow be carried up, which would have been exhausting and and they've backfilled this cave and it goes perfectly with the legend. Dude, I was staring like
What legend? You just
The Legend of Woolly Swamp.
yeah, I was it's like you with the government. Like I'm not supposed to talk about it, and that's kind of something
Yeah, but except
Wait,
I had a security clearance, so I literally cannot talk about it.
right? RPG's all mine didn't happen. So
we
I
pinky
can't talk
sweared,
about
okay,
it.
motherfucker? We pinky sweared, and I can't say
I am
shit.
not allowed to talk about it because it never happened.
I'll give you a little of the story just because it is fascinating. But basically, as this country was being founded, they had a gentleman. You ever heard of that story of the signing of the Declaration of Independence? And in that photo, there is one gentleman in there that nobody knows who they are.
Count of Saint Germain.
Okay. So if that's...
So we do know who it is then, right?
I do.
But,
We no longer are the no-name guy.
well, way to ruin the whole thing. The whole story.
RPG's all, it was me.
Wasn't he like a world-renowned musician?
Yeah, he was.
No, this is okay. So
It's
England.
funny you brought him up because we listened to a thing on
Yeah, we
the
did.
day on the
Really?
way down here. Yeah, we did.
Now that's interesting. What's that?
It's about 45 minutes. Because I was talking about, hey, we should make a movie and try to find the Count of Saint Germain.
Huh. Well, long story short, if it's the Count, you basically had this steward from England who was protecting and looking over the entire eastern coast of the United States. And what people don't know is we were mining a lot of gold out of that southern Appalachia for a long time. And the reason this English lord was over here was because he was in charge of collecting it all. And do you know who worked for him as a land surveyor?
Donald Trump.
No, George Washington.
No.
And George Washington was his main guy. And whoever this man is, whether it's him or not, this man and him basically ended up having a discussion because they had acquired enough gold and riches to start a country. And so I don't know why they decided to go for it or not, but now at that point, Georgia, Kentucky, all that area, that was called South America. That was like the jungles, the wilds, like bears, Indian, like it was dangerous. You went in there to hide and you're probably going to die going in.
So similar to today.
Right. So what you did is you ended up having this small team of George Washington as this land surveyor with a connection to someone who knew what England was up to. Then you had a silversmith, John Silver, who was able to, Long John Silver, that story.
Long John.
No, that they've rewritten. I can give you
They
the
have
book.
great fish sticks too.
Yeah. No, I give you a story about the
Don't forget
real,
the tartar sauce.
the real Long John Silver. But anyway, he was a silversmith, and then you also, the story's long, but basically they had the ultimate team to take that gold, print money out of it, and start the first American mint, which they went across, and where Fort Knox is, that underground, it's connected by underground from the original spot where they brought the gold and hid it all from England, which is why when they came over, one of the first places they raided when they went up in Virginia was this silversmith house. They knew the key players, and they hit all the spots looking for this gold, but they had hid it, and they hid it in a place that, I forget how many miles it is from Fort Knox. Apparently it's all connected underground now, but they had it, and on the hills around it, they had buildings, full houses, that were set to burn if the England ever, figured out the ultimate plan. And so basically, this is the untold story of the founding fathers and how we acquired enough wealth to actually become a player on the grand stage. And this is buried, with stupid stories around it. And I actually have the book of the historian who went and tracked all this back with land rights, land maps, the names, everything, and can pinpoint the families. It's just the past that they don't want us to know about. And after doing all this research, meeting this guy, we went looking for the clues. And one of the things was pyramids, just arrows, basic things that you could carve into the rocks. And I was just working on a TV show and following this and the beauty of it. And like I said, we ended up at a place with a massive triangle, so I thought it was totally fake when I first saw it. I was like, okay. And when I said a couple of crackheads, is these guys were, we were worried about working with them. There's definitely hard to get a hold of them, very sketchy. And I don't mean to insult anyone, but I'm just pissed that they stood me up. And then we went, and we're on this ledge and this cliff. And Kentucky, you can just be driving on a highway here, and there can be a 200-300 foot chasm there. It's a wild, wild landscape. And you're up on this ledge, and all of a sudden, right before you go around this lip, all the names of the players are carved into the stone, and it's old with lichen and all this shit in it, and it's right there. And there was all the clues lead you there. An ancient Indian settling ground where the warriors would come through, fucking Indian graves, mounds of rocks, it had everything. And all of a sudden, this capstone, which was knocked down in an earthquake 100 years ago, or else we would have never known where this fucking thing was. And then you're literally standing with this back-filled thing. And our fucking sound gear, we would put it on it, and we would put it to the wall next to it, and it was hollow in there. And they talk about this great Indian cave, which has all the Indian wealth in it, too. And they were using it as possible storage spots for all these coins that they were mass-producing, making, and then sneaking in these massive donkey trains, which there's records of these massive trains coming through.
Got a donkey show?
Donkey chain?
Anyway, it's fascinating, and all I'm telling you is I stood, I believe I found a treasure trove that I just can't get to because the guys that were there, they found it, and I honored that. And that's...
So...
Isn't this a Nick Cage movie?
Right. Also,
It's real, but it's real.
I think that little rant was about 15 different stories. Long John Silver was involved in this story.
I'm
It's
still
the real
confused
Long John
where fish
Silver.
sticks came into that.
Right. Nowhere in any of that rambling did we actually get to the answer of the question.
You got some stuff
Nowhere.
here.
You got all sorts of stuff in there.
Yeah, let me get that.
I'm just.
So hold on. Now, was this guy the count?
I don't know. So I whoever he was the main liaison at that period of time with George Washington between us and England, and he was there specifically to take all our resources and bring them back.
So you know much about him?
No.
Okay, so like, we listened to a thing on him today,
yeah.
and he might be the wandering Jew, right? So, and it might also be all bullshit.
Sure.
But so as Jesus was being crucified, he got tired of carrying the cross and stopped to catch his breath. And some guy was like, yo, hurry the fuck up because I got shit to do. And Jesus is like, you know, you're going to wander until I return or something like that, right? And so then this Count of Saint Germain, he shows up in all these like political events and like huge things over hundreds of years, right? Is the guy a vampire? Is he the wandering Jew? You know, did he figure out an elixir to immortality because he was supposed to be like this, you know, alchemist?
Transmuting, yeah.
Yeah, and
He was also from Transylvania.
He was from Transylvania. He spoke all these different languages. He played all these instruments, but like world-class musician. You know what I'm saying?
So enough time he lived to master everything.
To master everything. So when you said the Declaration of Independence, there was a guy. That's who it's thought to be because they get cold feet about signing it or they're discussing it or something.
Yep.
And then this person stands up and, you know, talks to them about courage and how you got to fight and the time is now and shit like that. But those doors were locked.
Yeah.
And nobody could get in, and nobody could get out. They said by the time they all got up and signed it, the guy was gone.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah, so when you said that, that's why I said Count of Saint Germain, but I never heard the other part.
John Silver was there.
Yeah,
it's really the start of
Silver was there.
I mean, we do learn new things. I don't remember Long John Silver being there for the Declaration.
But it's the story of the origin of the real Fort Knox and how it came to be and how we actually got money and could become a country.
Well, they got money. I was still fucking broke.
Right. Still a broke-ass Bigfoot of a
Yeah.
bitch.
But besides going to the Grand Canyon at some point, you know, as years go by, I'm very curious to know if they finally went in and cleaned it out because the one thing that they didn't have was the ability to do that. Because every time we would talk for a year and nothing would be done. So
Why couldn't they do it?
imagine sitting right at something that you like 99% believe is going to open to a massive treasure trove. Like it's like, is anticipation better than it? I don't know. I don't know why. I think that's
Hell no.
I don't know
Pay
why.
these bills, cuz.
I got to figure this shit out.
Dude, I would have dug that out so fast. Oh my God. And to see.
It almost makes you...
All the clues are there.
Because, like, all right, 4 of us that were here have been at a certain place where they made grandioso claims, right? About having an end-all, be-all, end-all. You know what I mean?
I'm with you now.
Bet you won't bring it forward to the world. You're holding on to it. Huh? Yeah, so anyway, when you hear things like that, it's like the bullshit meter goes off, you know? It's like, come on, man.
They can't even get... You're right, and I'm totally open to that. But for these 2 guys who you would say were the least ambitious people you might meet, for them to backfill this or carve the tunnel first, it just is so out of there. Like, it's so out of the... I couldn't even get them to commit to me to come just, like, see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know. I don't know. And like I said, I followed the story very deeply. I read this gentleman's book. I talked to the historian. I went and saw the giant stones that were like marker stones that are just in the middle of nowhere. You're like, what is this shit? Where they used to have the old steels where they would actually melt it down and make... I don't know, man. It was... I hope to stand there with you, and I'll look at you all, and it'll be like a Goonies moment, because you'll be like, motherfucker, there is something weird about this.
See, that's what I want to do.
And you will do the truffle shuffle.
I want to do some Goonies shit. An adventure. You know what I mean? We're not getting no younger.
I have the exact coordinates.
It'd be really cool if we wound up just in some old wishing well, too. At the end of that.
And we can enter from the park. There's a very small park where you can come in. It's an exhausting hike to the top. I mean, like, and then when you get in, you'd have to almost rappel a little, but not really. Like, you could do it. We'd have to do it in the day. And you come up.
Rappel a little, but not really.
This is shit that you know.
You want an adventure. I'm just saying.
When are you going to rappel?
I mapped it almost all out. Like, it's like a trip that I was there and never got to be fulfilled. You know, it's like, I'll get my balls blue, but don't let me go. And I'm just saying it's doable.
That was a hell of an analogy.
I got my balls blue.
Just let me go. Yeah. The look for. We're in Florida. Like you Florida boys. Like
There's treasure all around here. You know what I mean? There's like we could always go on a damn treasure hunt, but no, like Grand Canyon shit's what I'm about.
Yeah.
That'd be cool as fuck.
Especially since you got the connecting hall.
Yeah, right. Since you like sitting on a map and shit, like
X marks the spot on it.
Known each other for a while now. This is the first.
Well, so hey, that was the
Colorado
thing.
Connect.
When the guy went out there and found these things.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's been numerous people that have found stuff.
right.
over the
Well,
years, yeah.
so one of them, they seen the cages or like the tunnels being
entrances,
blocked off. Yeah.
Yep.
Black helicopter flew over them and like not just flew over, like flew around them and like made it obvious that hey, we fucking know you're there.
Right. Yep.
It's just one of them things you go missing, you know.
Well, that's when I told him. I said, "I'll go. I'm very interested, but I want to go as a group." So either we end up like the Russians in the past, and they just go, "Well, there's a lot of them, but just fucking take them all out, blame it on Avalanche." I don't think so. And honestly, I think if we go in, if this guy's been able to do it, and he's taken people, like he'll take you in, like you pay him, he'll do it. Then why hasn't he been taken out already? Because who's gonna fucking believe us now? Coming out with footage and showing it, but like we
That's
talk
the
about black
problem
helicopters.
today,
yeah, but
dude.
we talk about that, but it's never happened to any of us. How do we even know that's real?
Oh no, that's the real thing that happened to me.
Oh well, then that's different. I've never.
That was a real thing.
Oh,
He
okay.
first got abducted by the government and then by aliens.
No, hey, that was a real thing at the Georgia Guidestones.
Well, that's interesting. But they like
That
what
was a real
happened? So they
thing
just
there.
came and shooed you out.
No, they just flew around us
Yeah, hey, that's
and then flew off. It was weird as
yeah,
fuck.
that
It was
kinda
like
crazy.
But they didn't say anything. They
they didn't
didn't.
say jack shit.
So did you?
We fucking left. Like when those and it may have just been that there were 4 black Black Hawk helicopters flying out or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Flying out and then like circled the guide stones that we were standing under and then rolled out,
Right.
Maybe there was.
So it's not definitive. You.
It's not definitive,
But it's the closest
I've
any-
seen
yeah.
it happen, and
yeah,
like,
it's just that time of day they decided to practice. flying
maybe
the-
I don't know,
But there's an experiment. Okay, so let's gear up and let's do this. Let's film it. Let's let the world know we're gonna do it, and let's see what happens.
Well, you say that, but there was recently a guy. Has anybody heard the
Yes.
story of the guy who
Film the giant.
filmed the
Mile.
giant? Okay, so,
They supposedly disappeared him just like a couple months ago.
right.
So what's this? Take me through the story. I don't know the story.
so
TikTok story. TikTok story, right?
So it's quick. Great. Here we
dude's
go.
a big TikToker,
Yeah.
right?
Big TikTok.
like,
Like large.
well,
He's from Djibouti.
large as in following, right?
Okay.
So he's got people that watch his TikTok all the time.
Yeah.
So he was going past some sort of park.
Yeah.
Somewhere out in like close to the Pacific Northwest, somewhere around there.
Washington State.
Yep. And he films this what appears to be like a giant on the top of a snow-capped mountain. Right? He films it, puts it on TikTok. Right? The next thing that starts to happen, he starts looking into it more and starts doing more research on giants.
Wait, just like it's alive, it's walking, it's frozen. Like what does it look like?
It looks like it's just kind of standing there a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit.
just like standing and watching.
So it's alive.
Yeah.
Or it looks like it's alive.
Well, I mean, it's just
It's
there.
very
It's
far away. It's like it's blown up, digital camera, all that stuff. You can't really see. Like maybe it is kind of shifting a little bit. You know, you can't really see that, but you can definitely see that there is something there from far
Camera
away.
being so far away, it's a 2'4" midget.
No, you could tell
No,
by
it's
the
huge.
rest of the mountain. The thing's
It's
like
huge.
40 foot tall.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's fucking massive.
Whatever
right?
it is, it's and it wasn't. I think he also went back and filmed it, and it wasn't there.
Yep. He went back like the next day or something because everybody was like, go back. And
Yeah.
then so then he goes back again, and there was some car stopped out on the road that turned him around.
Yep.
Then he ended up filming a weird light and helicopters out there around. He filmed
Yep.
some military helicopters out there.
Then he went back home, and then for whatever reason, he makes this weird, uncomfortable video of him retracting everything that he said, that he hoaxed it, all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Then he doesn't post anything for a little bit. Does another thing saying, "Listen, they forced me to make that video. Everything that I originally said was true. Everything that I filmed was true." After he made that, dude's been missing for months.
Yeah, well, so on his old lady's Facebook, she posted he died.
Heart attack?
No, there was a death date for him, right? But it's believed to be. I've seen some shit on the internet. They think it's just some bullshit, just some hoax. This guy was pulling. The story's great.
It's great. And that was my
great,
gut,
dude.
though, is like he faked his death because that's genius. It's part of the...
Well, you can. I think you can fake your death on TikTok, and it's not
Yeah.
a big fucking deal.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's,
Right? You can,
But why? Okay, so he filmed a giant from a distance, which
Fucking-
99 people aren't going to believe anyway. Why kill that?
oh,
dude?
hey, bro. Millions and millions
Yeah.
and millions and millions of views, bro.
they're-
Oh, okay.
That's why
We're
that's why-
talking like fucking.
That's why I said a
hundreds of
large.
that's why.
millions.
That's why I said a large following.
Got it. So we just keep our following small and we're great. We can travel all over
He's-
the world.
He's making money, so whether it's true or not, I guess doesn't really matter. But if it is true, government disappeared his ass.
Well,
Recent.
there's another one. We go find this guy. Fucking Cole, let's go find this dude.
Hey,
Let's find Giant Danny. Like, whoever the hell this kid is.
Giant Danny.
So, kind of another interesting one. Have you guys heard about that kid who supposedly went missing too? I think
That
like
one
10. I
kid.
think like 10 years ago or something like that. Somewhere around there. It was mid 2000s. He was like a genius, right?
Okay.
And
I've seen this movie. There was like he was a
Doogie
janitor
Howser
at the
and-
How you like
school.
them apples?
No.
Yeah, and
no.
like there was an equation. He come out and he
no,
finished
that's
the equation.
Will Hunting.
Oh, right on, right
it
on.
was the one where he was like the chess player.
No, not that one either, man.
The one where I get my underwear on Wednesdays. Definitely on Wednesdays.
Ted Wagner, 4 p.m. Ted Wagner. Ted Wagner comes on at 4.
Anyway, his name was Colton something or something to that effect. I don't care. Anyway, he had
Colin Powell.
no, not Cole.
Colton Powell.
Right, Colton. My bad,
Anyway.
Colton.
His lesser known brother.
He was a genius, and he created some sort of like
Genius invention.
creating new electricity power type of thing. I want to say it had something to do with water, converting water
Thomas
into
Edison.
energy and stuff like that.
Oh, kill that guy.
There's another guy who was also kind of disappeared for doing the same thing with cars. But basically, he was creating some sort of like new propulsion method. Long story short, right?
Mhm.
He got to that point, he made a company, and then suddenly he fell off the face of the earth. He was active on social medias and things like that. I want to say it was like a couple months ago, shortly before the giant guy thing happened. People were like, oh, they somehow a video of him resurfaced onto the internet. You know how things make their cycles and rerounds on stuff. Well, this time
Reround?
everyone's like, oh, well, where is that kid now? What happened to him? And nobody could find him.
Huh.
Well, I found him. What? Still alive.
Boom.
He still has an
In my
he still has an
neighborhood.
active.
Stalker.
So apparently, well, it didn't really take all that.
They're
But
dating now. They are dating.
long story short, man, him and his family just wanted to get out of the public spotlight because they couldn't live their freaking lives because everybody, because he came like YouTube famous.
Yeah.
All right.
They, the family and everything, they they just wanted their privacy, and then they disappeared themselves.
It's the best
So
way.
it is very easy to kill
So they
yourself
killed
off of
themselves.
They
TikTok
kill
or
themselves.
social
They're just
media,
clones
yeah.
now.
They're just what?
They're just clones.
Clones.
Huh.
You said resurface, and that made me think of something that you
Hemorrhoids?
said earlier. No, thank God they're gone.
They will resurface.
Victory.
You said there was an experiment with a dolphin earlier. Before we were recording, when you said resurface, that's all I could think
My
about.
best part of
And
this.
I think it would be a great thing to end the show on because we're getting close on time. We're probably over on time. We're in an hour. Okay.
Are we gonna
Boring.
get into the dolphin? You want me to get in the dolphin story?
Just end with a hand
well, didn't
motion.
you-
End with a
didn't you-
violent hand motion.
Didn't you have? What were you trying to talk
Did
about? A
you
dog
have
man last
sexual-
time.
Oh,
Yeah, dog man.
relations.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
So was when you say dog man, explain. Like what? I don't understand
I
dog
mean-
man.
All right, you don't understand dog man?
No.
Well, it's more like a werewolf type of thing.
All right, yeah, whatever.
Hey,
No
fuck
one's-
that dog thing. Let's talk
yeah,
about
that's
the
it. Why is he
dolphin
talking about the
jacking off.
dog man again? We wanted to talk about the dolphin.
You're out of your league, Donnie.
All right, whatever. It was an hour. We'll see y'all next week. Everybody, sayonara. Matt.
Later.
I'm never gonna say this story ever.
Watch out, watch out.